Hello and welcome everyone to the MCCU, the More Connor Cinematic Universe. What's good? What's going on? People said they wanted a little bit of a different, like a little bit of a variation in content. So today I'm going to attempt to give that to you by doing more singular videos versus doing like long form podcasts with like 20 different topics. We'll see how this goes. We'll give it a try. Maybe you'll never see this. Maybe I'm talking to myself. Wow, that's mental illness, folks. Today, I'm going to be watching, talking, and reacting to a good old Dr. Phil video.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
I haven't watched Dr. Phil in fucking forever. Don't know what society thinks of Dr. Phil in 2022. But I saw this debate, this video trending on Twitter. It's called Both Sides of the Gender Pronoun Debate. Have you ever noticed pronouns as she, her written in someone else's email signature? Yes, I have. I have my pronouns in my email signature as well as all my social media bios. Why? Because it's easy. I think it's a great norm to move ahead with, especially when you're working in the digital realms. Because it's just you know right off the bat when you get on a video call with someone, if they have their pronouns next to their name, you'll never misgender them. They're right there. It's very helpful. It's very easy. I think it's ridiculous when people complain about it. And so they brought a couple on who identify, I think, as non-binary or gender fluid, and then they brought on a very conservative political commentator named Matt Walsh, who a lot of people know. I know barely anything about him besides that he seems to be deeply angry all the time. So let's give it a go. Let's see what we got here.
I'm Addison.
And I'm Ethan.
We've been together for about
5 years.
And
Been
married
for 3 years.
I use they, them pronouns. Being non-binary just means that I just don't identify with the gender I was assigned at birth. And
Honestly, the beard to long hair combo, they are slaying. They are gorgeous. I live for them.
My pronouns are he or they. I also identify as a non-binary. To me, being a non-binary means having the sense of freedom to explore my gender in whichever way I want. I don't have to perform or pretend to be someone I'm not. I can be my authentic self.
Obviously, we'll get into this like once the debate actually starts, or once, I guess, like the back and forth begins, but that's as simple as it has to be. I don't get why people are so stressed about the existence of non-binary people, the existence of gender fluid people, the discussion of pronouns. It's like why is that so exhausting to you? Why does it bother you so much that other people have a different identity? I find it so confusing. I want to get to the part where it's like the full-on back and forth between Matt Walsh and them. Let's see here.
You're saying that there should be no construct of gender, just sex. You're either male or female.
Right.
And someone feeling in a mental, emotional way that they don't identify with.
Dr. Phil is speaking so carefully. I appreciate it. I do. But it's like every word he's saying. It's like people who don't say LGBTQIA+ often, and they're like LGBT. It's just, I shouldn't laugh, but it's fucking hilarious.
Been biologically created as and assigned at birth based on their genitalia. If they don't feel that way, that there's no construct that describes that, experiences that.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the realities. You can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually in those things.
I hate this approach to gender and to sex of like, oh, what's next? I'm going to identify as a napkin. Oh, what's next? I'm going to say I'm a dog, so you have to call me a dog. That's so not what we're discussing here. We're discussing gender, sexuality, and the fluidity of it, also the social construct of gender, that gender was constructed by society. That is literally the definition of it. Therefore, it can be deconstructed, Or, therefore, it means that we created it in the first place. We can create an even more nuanced meaning to it. It's almost like as people learn more, things change. It's almost like after we went to the moon, we realized, oh, there are things beyond the moon that we can go to, like fucking Mars.
Your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want, but you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical production. You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives.
No one is asking for their own adjectives or their own prepositions. That's not what this is about. They don't correlate at all. So it's not in any way a valid argument.
It's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant.
Debatable. Debatable.
And no matter, whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. Makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar.
A vast majority of people are not asking for new pronouns. They're not making up new pronouns. Most people are sticking to the very traditional pronouns, he, she, they, etc. So I don't get what his point is here. Is he going around thinking that people are all of a sudden going to start making up words to identify as? Even if that happens, why do you fucking care? I don't get it.
So you think it's a delusion? Someone is self-delusional?
Yeah, I think it's delusion. It could be mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things.
First of all, I am mentally ill. Second of all, my pronouns are he, him, his.
When you hear a parent say, "Oh, my 4-year-old son came to me and said that I'm a girl now, and so that's what I'm gonna raise him as a girl." No, you're a 4-year-old. I have 4 kids. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question. What is a girl? Ask him what he means by that.
No child is going to a parent and saying one time that they feel that they are not the gender or sex that they were assigned at birth. No, it doesn't just happen like that. Clearly, he has never met a trans child, a trans adult, and had a real discussion with them. That's not what it is. And parents, he's not giving them enough credit as well. He's equally discrediting them in their parenting process, because clearly no parent hears one thing from their child and automatically changes everything about the way that they parent. That's not how this works. He wants to talk about delusion. He's living in a delusional world.
He wants to do some of the things that girls do, like play with the dollhouse, or he likes the color pink. That's fine, play with the dollhouse, but you're still a boy.
Part of his confusion, I believe, is because society has added gender roles to everything. They say that pink is for girls, blue is for boys, trucks are for boys, and dolls are for girls. Sports are for boys, and like cooking is for girls. Like, part of the reason why we are deconstructing these gender roles, these gender stereotypes, these gender identities in 2022 is because that they make no sense. They have been over time by society allocated to a gender, and that thus has created, I think, the confusion amongst a lot of people. I mean, the ultimate utopia we live in is that people are allowed to be fluid and they aren't allowed to be caged in and constructed. I think we got ourselves into this complicated mess, and I think he is afraid to admit that the world is much more complex than it is. It's not as simple as that. It's not binary. It's not black and white, boys and girls. It's not. It's much, much more than that. It's so impossible for me personally to believe that things could be so binary in any way, when no matter what, you either most likely believe in science or religion, or both. You believe that like the world is billions of years old, or the world was created by a god. And if you believe either of those things, how is it impossible to believe that human beings can come in billions of different forms, shapes, and sizes? Like, how is that difficult to believe that someone could be not male and not female, that they could be non-binary? It's like beyond me. It's so simple to me thinking that way, but.
Well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology, is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. Like, what is a woman?
Well,
Can you tell me what a woman is?
no, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
What do you define a woman as?
An adult human female.
That is the most Dexter fucking answer I've ever heard in my life. What? Don't cut me up in your garage. Jesus. That's some Ted Bundy shit.
Someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's, here's the thing, when you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies,
Okay.
we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
If this man wants to talk about, based in your DNA, based in your bones, there are more than 2 different sexes that can be the outcome of mix matching of chromosomes. So I'm looking at it now. There are roughly, so a female is an X and an X chromosome. A male is an X and a Y chromosome. But also, there's a single X, there's an XXY, there's an XYY, and there's an XXXY. It's not binary. It's not male and female. Scientifically, there are more than 2 sexes. That's proven. That's a fact. That, those people physically exist. It's not a theory. So for him to say that, it's just like a misguided way of presenting it to the world, because clearly he knows better. Clearly he knows more. He's putting this on for some sort of conservative agenda. I don't really know.
So what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? Cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
That is also a great point. People always bring it down to reproductive organs of are you able to reproduce? Do you have X, Y, and Z? And that's just not the case. Again, 7 billion different people on this planet. There are many different ways to be a woman. There are many different ways to be a man. There are many different ways to be a human in general. Go on and go off.
What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not myself.
You used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right. So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people
that describes what?
People who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own. Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and define it differently. And so trans women are women too.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. That is so beautiful and so poetic that there isn't one way to define a woman. There isn't one way to define a man. So why are you trying so hard to make it so binary, so definable? It's again, it's like a part of this greater agenda that he has, that he wants to back them into a corner. It makes me so mad, because why do you care so much? At the end of the day, my frustration comes from why is someone like Matt Walsh putting this much energy into invalidating the queer community? Frankly, anyone who cares this much about sex and gender, it's weird, isn't it? It's very weird. I think it's very strange. It's pretty gay to care this much about gay people.
So
you
that's
want to
the
reduce
problem.
women, you want to reduce men down to maybe just their genetics, our genitals, our chromosomes, right? That's what you're saying.
You want to do is
that's what
you want to do is appropriate women. You want to appropriate womanhood.
Okay.
And turn it into basically a costume that can be worn.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He is gatekeeping. A man is gatekeeping womanhood and gaslighting in them into feeling bad. And also, they just said they don't even identify as a woman. They identify as non-binary. It's so gay to care this much about someone else's gender identity. God, what is wrong with you? I don't know what this interview portion is. Is there anything else? Oh no, this seems to be the ending here.
Concerned about what's going on in schoolrooms across the country.
The entire gender pronoun situation makes me feel very upset.
People may think that if you don't want to use the preferred pronouns, that you're against gay people. This is 100% untrue. I am a huge advocate for gay people, trans people, and the like.
Stacy and I both have children in the same school district.
I learned that the teachers in my children's school were asking for the kids' preferred pronouns in the classroom.
Y'all, it doesn't have to be this, like, what is this dramatic music? They added an Ozark, like, blue filter to this where it sounds like they're investigating a serial killer or a murder. It doesn't have to be that deep, that scary, that complex. It's just pronouns. It's like me figuring out that I was gay. I had the epiphany, at age like 10 or 11. I knew pretty early on. And if that was more of a widely discussed thing, maybe I would have come out sooner. So if someone talks about pronouns earlier, it's going to be much less taboo. It's going to be much less scary. And we're going to not have to put dramatic CSI music over an interview of some blonde white lady.
It was extremely upsetting.
Last year, my son was given a homework assignment. I gave an example of a child not identifying with the gender that they're born with. This is an example of the homework that was given to my 8-year-old son. If a student is unsure of their place in the gender spectrum or is experimenting with different forms of gender presentation, school uniforms can present a real challenge.
Oh my gosh. What is gender spectrum?
That's a great question.
Oh my gosh. What is gender spectrum? I'm going to keep drilling it in until you understand. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be deep. It is an exploration of one's self. It is an exploration of one's identity. It is something that is complicated. It is something that is deeply personal. And it's something that goes beyond surface level. It's something that goes beyond visual. I get that there's a lot of nuance to it. And I get that if you haven't experienced before, most people are afraid of the things they haven't had any sort of firsthand encounter with. But you don't have to villainize it. Like, what is the worst possible outcome of your child saying, "Hi, I identify as bisexual and my pronouns are she, they"? It baffles me. I think it's this presentation of like the dramatic. They put a fucking vignette around this man and he's walking around like he needs to call the CIA on his vice principal.
This year, my 12-year-old daughter had a science teacher ask the class about their preferred gender pronouns.
I don't want a teacher talking to my child about gender pronouns. It is not appropriate. It's crossing a line. It's unacceptable.
I don't want a science teacher talking to my children about a science topic. Do you hear the delusion in your words? Oh my God, these poor unfortunate souls. I hope you learn.
I've been attending school board meetings for about a year now. What's happening across the country is teachers could get fired if they use the wrong gender pronoun. That just seems wrong.
This is my mission in life, to protect my children, and however I need to do that, I will.
Out of all the things that you could be fighting for, income inequality, homelessness, racial justice, all the things you could be fighting for, and you're fighting for the fact that a science teacher is talking to your kids, not even talking, asking your kids about their preferred pronouns. Can I get 5 for a waste of time?
Teachers could get fired if they use the wrong gender pronoun. That just seems wrong.
That's not true, by the way. That is complete misinformation. Nobody is fired for using the wrong gender pronouns. And also, most anybody within the queer community will tell you that if someone accidentally gets their pronouns wrong, it's not a big deal, as long as the person is doing it by accident. Someone who is intentionally misgendering you and intentionally not saying your pronouns over and over again, that's a different story. If you are intentionally not following along with something that someone wishes, that's like me knowing that your name is John, but I constantly am calling you Dan. And you're like, "No, my name is John." I'm like, "Shut up, Dan. Can you please call me John?" "No, you're Dan." I don't like the name Dan. I find it really, offensive that you're calling me Dan. Nope, you're Dan to me. See, like, it's with anything, it's just rude and annoying. So you shouldn't be, for anyone watching this, you shouldn't be afraid to accidentally misgender someone, because if you approach it from a place of genuine curiosity and it is a genuine accident, no one is going to fault you for that. You just simply apologize, ask what their preferred pronouns are, and you move on and you learn from it. I'm just gonna cap it right there. That has been almost 30 minutes of me losing my mind a little bit. I don't know what we got out of this. I'm assuming most people watching this probably are on a similar wavelength as me. I definitely get quite agitated and aggressive, which I need to work on with these, because that's not gonna help anybody. But I just find it so infuriating. A piece of advice for anyone who is confused on a topic like this: approach it from a place of curiosity and open-heartedness and a willingness to learn and a willingness to be wrong, and you're golden. You're fine. As soon as you approach life with the perspective that you know nothing and you want to learn everything, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I thought I knew a whole lot. I thought I knew everything. And guess what? I don't. And that's a beautiful thing. Because then I started seeing the world, again, for what it is. It's not black and white, it's technicolor. There are many different shades of color in the world, and it's a beautiful thing when you see a new one. And as soon as you see a new one, you're going to be open and willing to see another one and another one and another one. So be respectful. Don't be angry. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time on something that has no effect on you. Someone's gender identity, sexual identity has no effect on you. It has no effect on you. So there's no use in being so goddamn angry and petty about it, okay? Okay, well, thank you for listening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for listening in the, what is it? MCCU, the More Connor Cinematic Universe. More Connor Cinematic. That's it. Okay, if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below what you think about this. Okay, bye.